and a teacher. Like many teachers, coaches pass on their knowledge and skills to others. Denny Sheppard is a science teacher, a scientist in fact, and he used that expertise in biology and physics to train his athletes to perform at their very best. But he wasn't just a teacher in a classroom collecting a bonus check. He was a teacher on the field, on the track, and on the mat. He's been a mentor and a friend to so many. He saw raw potential, and he knew that he could mold these novices into pros. He worked with them even in the off season. When other schools took summers off, Coach Sheppard offered practices and training throughout the summer to give kids a chance to keep up and hone their skills. Practices weren't mandatory, but he always had a full team at every practice. Coach didn't just create a team, he created a family. He took the team on bike rides, camping trips, he made training fun. My siblings and I would often come with him to these practices. My favorite was the lake days. I always remembered kids running in the shallow water up to their knees, trying to perform that lake strike. I used some of that training with my oldest son and some of his friends in our shallow kiddie pool. It was our wrestling ring. It was a blast watching those boys try to take down this 30-something mom. What they didn't realize was I was a coach's brat, and I'd been wrestling and running since I was in preschool. If you think Coach Sheppard's training stopped, his legacy lives on through the family that he has created. I could have filled this speech with tons of stats and all the team's accomplishments, but we all know why we're here. We know what he did for everyone. So instead, I'd like to share a small little story. In our little town in Libby, Montana, I talk too much.
We know.
We have like a little mini cross-country meet. It's called the Runnerfell for the Nordic Fest. And all the preschoolers and elementary school kids get to run in this race. My kids wanted to run, and my middle son especially wanted to participate. His first year he didn't do that great. He was pretty down on himself. So I worked with him, and I worked with him, and I taught him all the stuff my dad taught me. And at the very beginning of the race, nobody else was really doing anything. They were just kind of standing around waiting. But Gage was out there stretching and doing little sprints back and forth and running and getting ready to go. And lost my place again. When the starting gun went off, all the kids took off at high speed, but not Gage. He remembered to pace himself. And when he got down to that last quarter mile, the rest of the kids started petering out, and he knew it was time to pick up the pace. He passed all of the other kids, some 1, 2 at a time, till he left them all in his dust. I was in tears with pride as he came through the chute at the end, and the first words out of his mouth were, "I did it for you and Grandpa, Mom." And the first thing he couldn't wait to do was show Grandpa his ribbon. That kiddo went on to win that race 3 years in a row. That was Coach Sheppard's influence at work. He creates stars. And to this day, we can be anywhere. And I'll be trying to get his attention from a distance, and I'll holler, "Dad, Dad, Father." He won't answer me. But if I say, "Hey, Shep," he turns around right away. So he might have left Bay, but he never really retired. And I'd like to close with these words that many of you might know and remember, hung in the locker room. We had one in our living room and in our dining room wall. It's a poem by Edgar Allan Guest. It's the epitome of the legacy that Shep has left in all of us. He knows it's one of my favorites too. When things go wrong, as they often will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and debts are high, if you want to smile but have to sigh, when care is pressing down a bit, rest you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many failure turns about. When he might have won if he'd stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You might succeed with another blow. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured that victory cup. And he learned late, when the might slipped down, how close he was to that golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit. So on behalf of our huge extended family, near and far, I would like to say, thanks, Shep. You taught us all not to give up, because when it comes to us, you never quit. And it's a great honor and privilege to stand here with my brother and present you with your award into the Bay High School Hall of Fame.
Well, I guess you can see. I guess it's on.
You don't need to do
Okay.
Just yell.
I guess, you know, you've heard my daughter and seen my son, and it's like that when you coach. There's a poem that I read back in 1970 that says that coaches never lose. And that's true, because with every success that your team has, they tend to point fingers at the other teammates, the other kids on their team that made them better, that made sure that no one quit. And you can see that throughout the people that were inducted here today, that those kids are in this Hall of Fame for a reason. Most of it is because of their achievements in being state champions and go on in life and be successful. That's how coaches never lose, because they're able to look at what they have done to help those kids achieve. But a lot of times, achievement is not the state championship, not the winning of meets, not the winning of games, but what it is the friends that you make. And I remember everybody, when they told me about this a year or two ago, that I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame as a coach, I thought about all of the kids that I was able to coach and teach in high school. And they keep asking me, oh, what was your best team? What was your best team? They always want to know about the winners. Well, my best team has to do with kids that never gave up. My last year of coaching in 2000 at the state meet, this team was second in the districts, fourth, making the last spot to the state meet in the regionals. They were sixth in the state. And those kids gave it their all. Those kids were cheered on by the kids that are on the team but aren't good enough as far as the race is concerned. They're sitting there cheering our team on. And you look at the kids and their times in that race. We beat every team that beat us in the regional and in the district. And it was because of the kids that don't count in the scoring usually, but decide, just like a person that created an award for our cross-country team called the Tom Woolen Award. We, Coach Dick Scott, had a record of wins in a row. And the first year that these guys that I coached, who were the JD team from the year before, they instilled in the kids on the team that when it's your turn to step up, you step up. And I remember that Tom Woolen finished last in that race, not in the race, but on our team. He was the 7th varsity runner when we lost the 100th win streak for Bay High in cross country. The next meet, we were at the Malone Invitational, and Tom Woolen decided that we were going to win that race after losing to Westlake and Rocky River. And what happened was he became instead of being the 7th runner, was the 3rd runner on our team. And Paul Milrad and Roger Johnson were the top 2 runners that year. And those kids, that Tom Woolen decided he was going to finish. He ran 19:36 for 3.1 miles in the dual meet. He turned to the Malone Invitational that we were, the kids all decided really to run better, because from Tuesday to Saturday, when we ran the Malone relays, that Tom Woolen decided he was going to be a real varsity player. And he ran, from running 1930 something, he ran 16:10 on Malone, which is the toughest course in the state of Ohio to run cross country. And the rest of the team followed suit, because just like every most pec order there is on the team, they followed Tom Woolen. And we beat the returning state champions from the state meet the year before, who won and beat Dick Scott's team, finished 2nd that year at the state. Those kids were able to beat the state champion. We must have lit a spark under Kent Roosevelt's, Kent's team, because they returned and won the state that year. And it was that race that made Tom Woolen. And the reason I tell you this story is because that's the kind of kids that Bay has, that go to school at Bay. And through the years that I coached, that happened in 1982, and all the way to 2000, that has inspired the kids on Bay High. And one of the reasons this was important was because we were always a team. That we did not run as individuals, we ran as team. And I believe that no matter what your talent is, because that team that placed 6th in the state that year did not have a guy that could run the quarter mile under 63 seconds. And those kids were 6th in the state. And I believe that the philosophy that you coach everyone on your team, not just the elite runners, that you coach everyone, is an indication of what you can do when you're a coach. And that's why you never lose, because you have that backing. And I would like also to thank Coach Kaiser and especially Coach Knapp, who was my running coach, because as you get older, you tend to lose the ability to run and exercise and all that stuff. And so, you know, without Coach Knapp and Coach Kaiser and Coach Flanagan, who was also our other track coach when we were in our heyday, we had a good time. And that's the idea of sports. You have a good time. So thank everyone, and I appreciate, you know, this time you give. Thank you.
No, Grandma.